Hello and welcome back to Kinbozan Radio, and we have a Basho and a Yusho winner to talk about, Nick.
This was honestly one of my favorite tournaments I've ever seen. Like, it was so wild.
Yes.
Nothing went the way you expected, even from day one.
From day one, and then so just the themes of the tournament in general, like, oh, we have this dominant leader. Oh, look, now this person's clearly gonna get it. Oh no, that didn't. Oh my god! Like, I mean, let's talk about it. Right? We already talked about it a little bit in our hype show, but Midorifuji looked shockingly like he was running away with this thing. Then Daieisho chases him down, and you and I think, both thought, well, this is Daieisho's, it's done. And then Kiribayama off the top rope, man.
Yeah, that was so wild. And like, I kind of figured, like, I was very excited to see Midorifuji go 10-0, but I didn't think, kind of like I think we had mentioned in the hype show, like, I didn't think once he got to like truly like the top people that he was going to keep going, and he didn't. But he did so well.
Yeah.
But like you said with Daieisho, his second loss was a little disappointing. The first one, I was shocked that Kiribayama managed to toss him out.
Yeah.
Daieisho came at him so aggressively.
Yeah.
But then he tried to do the exact same thing when they did a replay. And it's like, of course, Kiribayama saw it coming, and he bounced off because he's really good.
He's incredibly good, and we're going to talk about that in a second too. But like, what do you think the thinking was for Daieisho? So to one extent, Daieisho is a one-dimensional fighter, and I don't mean that he can't do other things. I just mean that he's a truly elite pusher thruster. He's not elite at anything else, you know? He is obviously talented and can do those things at this top level, but there's one thing that he's truly spectacular about, and that is being a freight train. So to one extent, I can see him doing that, but like, do you think that was him getting too much in his own head? Like, I'm with you where like, was it one of those mind game things where you're like, oh, he'll never expect me to do exactly the same thing again, so this time I'm going to catch him unaware and knock him on his back? Like, I don't know.
Well, I wonder if, so with like with pusher thrusters, like with Daieisho and with Abi, if they get you, like, it is very difficult to recover, and they can end matches very quickly. And I know for sure that's what he was going for the first time.
Yeah.
And maybe that's what he was thinking the second time. He's like, if I can just get him fast enough, even if he sees it coming, he might not be able to recover fast enough, which, to be honest with you, very few people would have, and even knowing it's coming.
I think we were both shocked that Kiribayama was able, not that Kiribayama was able to force a playoff, but just that it happened, because that looked like Daieisho's match. He looked like Kiribayama, he had him dead to rights.
He had him, the first time he had him just 100% on the edge, and it was just crazy, like, skill and luck, 50-50, but that he managed to kind of push him to the side.
Yeah, and then out he went. That's the problem with freight train just going forward. It's going to keep going forward.
Yeah, he was angled so far forward. Like, it was just, like you said, it's just what it was. Like, he was pushed far forward, and it was good. It was fun to watch, and he did well. And man, that's got to be a real bummer, though. I bet he was just fuming when he was so close.
I know, and then it's so frustrating. We were talking before, like, it's this same thing. They call March the Stormy Basho, and it's just crazy stuff. And I think we saw crazy stuff. We saw an absolutely absurd leader throughout the tournament, and then someone else, and then this crazy finish. And it's breaking my heart. It ended exactly the same way for Takayasu last March, where you have this person who's like, no, this is his Basho. He's going to win it. Loses the playoff, or loses the initial match, gets forced into a playoff, loses the playoff the exact same way. Just, ugh.
Which, speaking of Takayasu, I really expected a little bit more from him this time.
That middle stretch, yeah, let's talk about this, because I don't know. He looked so strong and was so impressive starting the tournament, and I felt like we were so smart, and we're just like, yeah, he got this time off. He lost to Midorifuji, which was actually the big loss that made me think Midorifuji could actually be something. Takayasu was 6-0, so was Midorifuji. They faced off. Midorifuji won. Takayasu should never lose that match. I don't know what else to say. And then I think Takayasu was kind of stunned, lost to Hiradoumi the next day. Again, he should be able to outmuscle Hiradoumi. And then recovers to beat Aoyama before losing 3 in a row, and just like, whatever, it's 10-5. But in those first 6 days, Takayasu looked so good, so strong. Nobody could get him off balance. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, he came in like he always does after an injury, where he comes in so hard. Although, like we mentioned, he's fighting a little bit differently since his neck injury. Like, he's not going in head first. He's a little less aggressive. He turns.
Yeah.
He's still very good, and he can recover faster. He still recovers faster than anybody else that I see. And I don't know if that's part of what it was, if he's still like a little hesitant with his neck. But yeah, he lost some of those. Like Kinbozan and Nishikifuji did really well, but he shouldn't have lost to both of them.
Nah,
maybe one kind of like a Midori Fuji where it's like, maybe it's a freak thing or just like a once, but not the losses that he had.
I know. Losses to Midori Fuji, Hiradoumi, Kinbozan, who again, we're going to talk about Kinbozan, but Nishikifuji, and like Daieisho, sure, the Daieisho loss is excusable, and he did beat Hoshoryu on the final day when Hoshoryu was having an excellent Basho, so like, I mean, he's still good. Maybe this is just that injury, like, maybe this is what he's going to be now. I don't know what to think about it. Still, he was 10-5. It's a great showing. We just expected him to be challenging for this Yusho, and it just wasn't there in a surprising way. And like you said, no headbutts. Those are all gone, which I'm fine with or whatever. Still the shoulder blast, but like you said, kind of rather than catching them on his chest and pushing with his shoulder, it's more like actually throwing his shoulder into them, maybe to protect that neck. And it did seem like he almost wanted to get to a stand-up. Like, he wanted to get through the Tachi, put a good hit on them, and then get into the point where his superior upper body strength can outmuscle people when standing up. That kind of looked tactically like what was happening to me, and I guess if that's going to add longevity to his career, fine. But if it's going to mean some of these surprise losses, then I'm just bummed. Not, like, I think he should protect his body by all means, but I just, don't want to see him lose.
Yeah, I mean, that's really the tough part is like it's hard to see him lose.
Yeah.
But like you said, like I guess if it's like if this is what we need for him to continue fighting, and I don't think he's gonna get back to Ozeki and like, but he's still an upper rank fighter, and I think he can continue fighting like that for a long time if he plays smart.
Yeah, I know. He seems he has much a much healthier disposition in general than a lot of wrestlers. Like, for instance, let's talk about it. It was the big story going into this, but Takakeisho undone by his body yet again is the official story, and this is his Yokozuna dreams, I think, have just got to be shattered at this point. I don't know how he makes another run, but was this his body, or was this his mind and the pressure? I hate that garbage. They're like, oh, you're mentally soft, you don't know. But like, it's an individual sport, sumo. And so the pressure that's on you is all on you. There's no teammate to help you. Like, sure, there's a coach, but like, you stand up there and just have to do this. And this is an astronomical amount of pressure on Takakeisho, especially with the added pressure that the Japanese people want a Japanese Yokozuna. And I don't know. Give me your take.
I think exactly that. I mean, the prior injuries, plus, like you said, the pressure of like the entire Japanese side of the sport riding on you. Mm-hmm. And I don't know. I was really shocked at his Tobizaru loss on day one.
Yes.
But maybe, and like you said, maybe it's just like a mental thing, or it's just he struggles because, like you said, his body. But I don't know. I do think like that was probably it for Yokozuna, which not the end of the world. He's still like the top Ozeki. He's still one of the best wrestlers in the entire division for like a good while.
Yeah.
I don't see anybody challenging him for that for a while.
Yeah. We love the guy, but we say this time and again, whatever. There was an astronomical amount of pressure on him, but also there's just like pressure on my man's bones, because we've talked about this before. He's such a great pusher thruster. He's so good, so strong, but he had to make a deal with the devil in order to bring this up to this level, to be this Ozeki and this consistent. He frankly needed weight so that when a guy like Daieisho comes at him like a freight train, there simply is some bulk there so he doesn't just get knocked over. If he was going to be this short and fight a style like Hoshoryu or Wakatakakage, then yes, you can be an Ishiura, you can be a muscle man. But he wanted to fight as a pusher thruster because he's truly elite at it. He's magnificent, but he needed that weight, and his ankles, his shoulders, his wrists, his knees, it's not healthy, man. And so I'm with you. I just don't know when the skies are going to open up again. A Yokozuna-less field, no other Ozekis, a division that's very much in flux. Like, it was just there. I don't see it ever getting easier. Like, maybe he still somehow surprises us and gets Yokozuna, but if he does, it'll be through an incredibly impressive run. This was the time where the opportunity anyway was the best.
Yep, absolutely. And I know people are like, oh, would he make the greatest Yokozuna? Probably not. But like, this really was like his absolute sweet spot where even the Sekewakes have been kind of a little rough lately. The Komasubis have been in and out forever. There is no Yokozuna. Like, this was the time. And like I said, there's nothing wrong with him staying at Ozeki. Like, he's still fantastic, and it's still like a really, he's the second highest wrestler in the entire planet right now.
Yep, exactly. And the one who's higher than him is going to come back, but people don't. Some people think he's never going to win another Yusho. They think his body is too wrecked. Yeah, I'm with you. I love the guy. He's spectacular. Still going to root for him to win more Yushos and maybe rebuild that Yokozuna campaign, but this has to be devastating. And like you mentioned, this is the first tournament in a long time where the Sanyaku has kind of stabilized outside of the performance of Tobizaru. Even a struggling Wakataka Kage at the start really recovered until, we're going to talk about that because that's not good. But the Sanyaku was really impressive, so much so that those two guys in that final Yusho race, I mean, I think both Kiribayama and Daieisho now have Ozeki claims. I'm a little worried about Daieisho because are they going to penalize him for the fact that his Yusho was so long ago and was not part of his Ozeki run? I don't know. Technically, they sometimes will count a playoff loss as equivalent to a win because you did everything to get a win. You just didn't get it. So maybe we still get both of them. What do you think, I guess, first about the two of them as Ozeki candidates and about the chances that it'll actually happen if they can both manage to get 10 wins for Kiribayama and 11 wins for Daieisho in this next tournament?
I think at this point, I do think Kiribayama would make a slightly better, more consistent candidate for it. But one thing I know we've kind of briefly talked about with the political side of it, which is always kind of present, especially in a sport like this, if Takakeisho isn't able to come back, or is like right now he's Kadoban next time, like there's a real risk he could lose that. I think it's much more likely they give it to Kiribayama, which they have like a solid reason to, because he did just win the Yusho.
Yep. Because
he's Japanese over Mongolian, who's Daieisho, who's Mongolian.
Or other way around, right? Give it to Daieisho for being Japanese rather than Kiribayama being Mongolian. Yeah. No, those things matter. Like this, it's not. We have no interest in speaking broadly over all Japanese society or all Japanese people, but an older generation in Japan and a generation that happens to be in power in the JSA, that is an organization that's very resistant to change. And yeah, there is this emphasis on Japanese fighters, even, and from the fans too. And some of that's not even bad, like malicious or xenophobic. It's like, Americans get all uppity and USA, even in a sport like, let's say, hockey, right? Like, that's Canada's sport, but Americans at the Winter Olympics get real jazzed about their hockey team, Yeah, it's Japan's national sport. It's a really cultural thing. There's going to be a lot of emphasis on Japanese people. And to be completely frank, we are not saying that the JSA is racist, because, again, plenty of Mongolian and Hawaiian Yokozunas have gotten up there. I personally am really disappointed with the limitations on foreigners entering Heia and getting training. I think that is a very short-sighted and very cynical stance that I wish the JSA would reverse. But as far as the on the dohyo fighting and resumes, there I do think they are fair. I think they're trying to cut off the pipelines, but once guys are there, they give them the fair shot. And so I'm with you. I think Kiribayama, I think if he gets 10 wins, if he gets 10 wins, there is no way they keep him out of Ozeki in this next tournament. Kiribayama is going to be in Ozeki if he gets 10 wins in the next tournament. I see no way how they can, with a straight face, deny him that. And then I think you're right, based on, a massive amount of context like we just talked about. But I think if Daieisho gets his 11, he'll have 33 wins over 3 tournaments with a runner-up loss in a playoff, and he will have already attained a Yusho previously, not even that long ago, a couple years ago at this point, I guess, ish. But I think they'll both be Ozekis, and I think the division...
I would love to see them both as Ozeki. I think they'll do fantastic. Honestly, my only real concern with Daieisho is injuries.
Yep.
Like he's quite a bit more taped up. You see his hands taped just more than Kiribayama. Kiribayama seems like, at least at this point, maybe a little healthier. But I think they'll both do great. I would love to see them both up there.
Yeah,
I don't think either one would be like Mitake Yumi, where they get it and then drop it right away. I don't think that for either of them.
Yeah, I'm with you. The only one who I think even is any risk of that is Daieisho. Like you said, he's been a yo-yo man in the Sanyaku lately, but he consistently stays up in the Sanyaku, and then he does have those injuries, so that is a fear. Although, I was looking it up, my man has only missed like 3 matches in his entire career, and they were from a COVID tournament where he didn't even have COVID. His housemates did, and so he had to sit out. So like, I'm totally with you that like the longevity on his career in the back end I worry about, like how long can he be an Ozeki? But I do think he will show up and fight every tournament, which is awesome. But like Kiribayama, I think if that man gets Ozeki, he's latching onto it with an iron grip and not letting go of it until he can maybe make a Yokozuna run, which I don't know that I see that from him. But I'm with you. That guy is so consistent, and he's going to lock it down if he can get up there.
I think it's hard to see that. It's hard to know, like with the Yokozuna runs, because some people just flip on.
Yeah.
Like it could just be like all of a sudden he wins, 3 tournaments in a row. Like some people are just crazy like that. But
yeah,
for sure at Ozeki level, they're great. And yeah, I'm looking at Daieisho's history, and in like the last 2 years, he's been Omega Shira 4 once. Other than that, he's been like, for the most part, 1 or in Sanyaku.
Exactly.
He's great.
Yeah. And that matters for an Ozeki campaign because it means that he's always been fighting the top guys. Whoever the top guys are, he's always fighting. It's good. Speaking of injuries, though, I want to talk about sort of 2 things, like injuries and contenders, like Wakamoto Haru. Incredibly impressive Basho, ended with 11 wins, just 1 shy of the regular season sort of endings for the actual tournament contenders. So at Komusubi, he's looked really good in this tournament, and now we might have the flip-flop we talked about sort of in the hype show, because Wakataka Kage, I believe I read he tore both his ACL and MCL. That's why he had to pull out. And it's so frustrating because he had such a terrible start and was grinding back, and you knew he was going to get that 8-7 and cling to the Sekiwake. And now I'm like, technically they can probably leave him at Sekiwake if they want, because he technically went 7-7-1, but they usually count the pullouts as a loss, so 7-8. So I mean, are Wakamoto Haru and Wakataka Kage going to flip? And are we seeing now the end? Like, that's a brutal injury to recover from, man.
Yeah, I mean, that was super tough. And I think especially, I don't think they'll leave him at Sekiwake, especially with how good the rest of the Sanyaku performed. I don't think you can really justify it necessarily. Not that he can't eventually come back, but when you look at the rest of their scores, like, there's no reason to keep him up there necessarily. Yeah. Because Daieisho was fighting Komusubi this time, right?
Yeah.
And with the second place, I'm like, there's a good shot that he takes that slot. But I do think I've been sleeping on Wakamoto Haru for a long time. Like, his record wasn't like wildly impressive for a while. It was like, 9-6, but for most of his matches. But he's been consistently going positive. Yeah. Won July of 22, won 6-9. But looking at the rest of his record, that's probably just a fluke.
Yeah, I know.
He's great, and I think he's better. At least his record is shorter than Wakataka Kage, but it's better.
Yeah, I know. I think he's better. And so I'm excited to see that. Really impressed with how he performed this Basho. Would love to see him keep making a climb and maybe make that run. And we talked about this before, he's a little bit taller and a little bit heavier than his younger brother. And that matters. Same way that we saw Takakeisho make the deal with the devil and put this weight on, except that Wakamoto Haru actually has the frame to hold the weight.
He doesn't look unhealthy with that weight. Like, a little bit big, but like not terrible. Not like an Aoyama.
Yeah, I hear ya. So, yeah, I mean, I think that flip-flop is sort of set in stone. But Wakamoto Haru making this impressive run, and there were several guys who kind of had like bounce backs and looked good. We talked about Papayasu, Big Papa already, but Nishikifuji, the hype train, Nick, toot baby, tell me about it.
I am so excited. I was worried when I was like, he was like 10-5, I think 9-6, and you're like, yeah, this guy's the best, and then he got wrecked. Went up 1 level, got wrecked, no idea what happened. But then comes back again, another 10-5. I'm like, that's really what I was hoping for. I'm like, thank God.
I know, yeah, because we've been pushing my man so hard, and admittedly, like, we understand. We are doing a bad thing. We are getting too excited too early. But he was so good coming out the gates.
I know I criticize everybody for like the internet when they jump on the Hoshoryu train and jump on the Wakataka Kage train last year. And I'm definitely doing that with Nishikifuji.
Yeah.
But like you said, he's won so many times in the last. He's only been in for 5 tournaments.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And the thing that me and you that really like we got the stars in our eyes is that he goes up and fights the best guys and fights them in their style, even though he's smaller than them. He's like never scared. And he did that again in this Basho, which I love. He went and fought Takayasu, but he did it like strong style to strong style, you know? Like he's like, yeah, I can muscle you. And then he beat him, you know? He goes up with these dudes and will just fight them the way they want to fight, which is not supposed to work.
No, for somebody, especially with his level of experience, to go toe-to-toe with Takayasu and Takakeisho, 2 of by far the most experienced and best in the current division, and then he has a decent, like, he loses a lot against Takakeisho, but the fact that he's willing to do that consistently is so wildly impressive. And then he beat Takayasu.
Yeah. And now listen, we get it. There was a loss to Aoyama. That probably needs to stop happening. There was a loss to Chiyoshima. That probably needs to stop happening. But it's just this guy, I see and hope for a very bright future, especially I think he's still 26. He'll turn 27 this year, but like there's still time.
Yeah, I mean, there's another one where you just add on a couple of years of experience and this guy's gonna be amazing.
Yeah. I think so and hope so as well. And just because we're talking about bounce back guys and you mentioned Hoshoryu, holy crap, for the second week anyway, I saw absolutely no sign of that ankle injury, and I thought that he was going to turn that into a long-term injury. Hoshoryu looked spectacular. Again, I was so worried. Like, he opened this tournament 0-2, and then he's 2-3 after day 5 with a loss to Nishikigi, who had an awful Basho. I was like, oh, you shouldn't have come back on that knee, or on that ankle, man, your left ankle. You might have just screwed up your entire career. And then, my boy runs off 6 straight wins, ends the tournament 10-5. Very impressed.
This makes me feel very happy that while I've been saying that I don't think Hoshoryu is going to make like a solid Ozeki run, that I haven't actually been talking poorly about him. Because like you said, I expected this to just be like him just praying on the last day to get
8-7. Yeah, I know.
But he cruised through that last part, did so well. He's tossing people around. It was beautiful.
It was awesome. Yeah, he's back. He's back to what he was like a year and a half ago, where he's doing the crazy throws. I forget the name of the Mongolian wrestling technique, Pearl Soul. I can't. I'll embarrass myself if I try to say it. But, you know, a lot of these Mongolians come in, and him and Kiribayama are both these experts with these throws because they grew up in this other sport. And so that version of him is back. But yeah, I'm with you where, like, the internet, though, does need to calm down. Like, I don't know if they just, like, don't take the time to logically think about what they're saying, but I'm like, he has an 11-4 and a 10-5 split with an 8-7 in the middle. You guys know that 11-4, he doesn't get to count that towards his run, right? He's starting at 18. Yeah, he would need to go 15-0 in the next Basho to make Ozeki.
I think everybody just gets excited. Like, it's so, like, when somebody's so far at the top and he's young and he's super cool, like, I get it. It's very easy to get excited about. But like you said, it's logically, it's not quite there.
Yeah, and I'm with you. That is one thing that's on his side. You made a great point. Like, he's 24. He's so young. This is great.
Yeah, for him to be performing at this level at 24, it's like he's gonna be another one that where in a couple of years he's gonna be so good.
Yeah, for sure. And someone else, though, who does not necessarily have that future, but at least frustrates us to no end, frickin' Shodai is back.
I have a real strong love-hate relationship with Shodai. Yes. It makes me so excited to see him go 10-5. I'm like, are you kidding me? You haven't done this well in a very long time. And he's just slapping down most of the Sanyak, who lost to several of them, like you kind of expect. Yeah. But he's just throwing everybody around, and he's so good. He did no injuries. He's using real talent. I'm like, what? What is happening?
He just makes me so mad. I know, I love Shodai. I love watching Shodai fight. He fights with an incredibly exciting style, and he's extremely good. Except he's not, because on paper, he's garbage. Except for sometimes he goes 10-5. It's just so frustrating.
And I think that he is, I really think, like, the main example of, like, is your mind into this? Are you stressing yourself out? Like, what's going on? Because, I mean, it's insane. Like, I was so good this run. But then last time he'll fight essentially the same people and just tank it.
I know, that's the thing. He's fighting all the same guys. He just went 4-11, 6-9, 6-9 against the same guys.
Yeah. And then, yeah, like you said, occasionally he'll flip it on. Like, maybe, I think they mentioned a couple times towards the beginning of the tournament, like, he just looked more relaxed. He's fighting at Mega Shira 1. Maybe that just took the edge off. But now he's going to be back in Sanyaku, especially with Tobizaru having tanked it.
Yeah. Right, he's taking that Tobizaru Komusubi slot. That's just his now. It's done. And I hope that he turns it back on as consistent. I don't know, but I'm with you that I'm like, are you ever going to be an Ozeki again? Like, I don't know. I don't even care. You know what? I don't care what you're ranked, Shodai. Your style is so exciting. You're so good. I just want you to be good. Just be good. Get it out of your head.
If he could at least consistently go positive, that would be a huge win for me personally as a fan.
Yes, I'm with you. So Shodai is on the way back up, but also we had a couple of extremely impressive newcomers. Bushozan went back down, kind of expected that, but didn't expect it to be as emphatic as it was. Daieisho was fine. He's a guy who, in the past when he's been up is always fine. He's a guy that is a little bit frustrating because, like Shodai, he has a body and the skill and strength. Like, he should be better than he is, but he's just not. But Kinbozan came up and maybe seems like he's the real deal. Everyone's been waiting for him to make it up here, and the Kazakhstani giant looks great. But the true giant, Hokuseiho, all 6'7", 6'8" of him, this massive man, 9-6, actually a little worse than I expected. I actually expected him to get 10 wins being down this low. But both of those guys, we were saying last time in our preview show, like, who does the JSA think the future is? What do they think? I mean, do we think Kinbozan and Hokuseiho are the future? Are they going to start their Ozeki campaigns now?
I think they could. Those scores going in, again, it's kind of like what we talked about with Nishikifuji. Like, it's not super common, at least, again, I've only been watching like a year and a half, to see when the people bump up from Juryo. It can be really rough, even for people that you expect really high things out of.
Atami Fuji. I was on that train.
And, to see with Kinbozan, he lost a couple of matches where I was like, I don't know that you probably should have lost that. He lost to Hokuseiho, which is fair. But I'm just like, yeah. And, oops, sorry, I kind of lost my train of thought there.
Oh, you're good.
But yeah, I think they're both really good. Kinbozan for sure did better than I expected. I was hoping for like 8-9. I didn't expect 11 wins.
Mm-hmm. I know. It was great, especially when, like, he got to that 11, like, with 4 straight wins on the last 4 days, with wins against Abi and Takanosho, who are both very talented. Both have been Sekiwakes in their career, so that's impressive. But then the losses, like you're saying, I'm like, why did you lose to Koto Echo? Why did you lose to... and this, let me correct. I said Daieisho before, but Daishoho is the one who's actually up, which shows you what I think about these guys as sort of a filler. But anyway, like, why did you lose to them? You know what I mean? Like, should you have been 13-2? But then you're like, well, no, because you lost to those two guys, which is confusing. But you beat Abi, you beat Takanosho. Okay, you're good. I just don't understand. He beat Papayasu. He beat Big Papa.
Yeah. It's kind of like we talked about with some, like, Nishikifuji, where it's like he's fighting the top people and then he's losing to, like, Aoyama and some of these people. You're like, why is that happening?
I know. And actually, both of our young boys lost to Takara Fuji, who I was really impressed. Like, I was worried coming back up. I thought the guy was cooked. He ground out a Kachikoshi in these middle ranks. Maybe he is the sexiest legs in the division. Maybe are going to stick around a little longer. But anyway, both Kinbozan and Hokuseiho I would not have picked to lose to Takara Fuji, and they both did, which, like you're saying, I'm like, why? Yeah,
which, just as a side note, so excited to see, like, I was like, oh, Takara Fuji's done. Week 1. Yeah. He's won 1 match, 2 matches. Yeah. And then just straight cruise to the end. Beautiful. Loved it.
Come on, baby. I just love those legs, my man. But either way, yeah. So glad to see him sticking in the division. Hoping to see some exciting things from Kinbozan and Hokuseiho. But just here as we close out, I do want to say the promotion's up from Juryo as we talk about a new generation coming in, and we have some exciting storylines, but one you and I have been talking about for a while. Asanoyama is back. He did not get the Yusho 13-2, but my man is back.
Which is interesting because I really thought he would for sure. So I was a little surprised.
I know. I think it's and this is where I worry, where people have been saying things that, oh, it's such a given he's going to get back up to Ozeki or whatever, and I'm like, I don't know if he ever is. You guys, it took him 2 tries to get out of Juryo, which there's no shame in that because it's a long grind getting out of Juryo. But it also took him 2 tries to get out of Makushita, because he went 6-1 the first time. He should have gone 7-0 the first time and gotten right out of Makushita. He has essentially cost himself 4 months of that Ozeki run by needing 2 tries in each of those. If he had gone 7-0 in Makushita and won his Yusho, and 15-0 in Juryo and won his Yusho, then he gets promoted 1 shot in both of those. But he didn't.
Yeah, and I mean, I know, like we've seen in the past, like Ichinojo, especially once, like if his back is feeling better, he's taking some time off and comes to recover.
Yep.
The dude is as a train. He is so hard to stop. But it's somebody with Asanoyama specifically, I kind of expected him to be the road bump that would have kind of bumped off Ichinojo.
Yeah. No, yeah. And Ichinojo, got that. And it was Gonoyama, who, shockingly, I have Gonoyama not getting promoted. I have him going up to like J2 or whatever and getting iced out because he only went 11-4. He had some losses he shouldn't have had to Hokuseiho, and even to Atamifuji. He lost to Roga, which is a big rivalry there, so it's not too surprising. But yeah, Ichinojo 14-1, and his only loss, like you're saying, was not to Asanoyama, it was to Gonoyama. But otherwise, Ichinojo's size just destroyed that, and Asanoyama's 2 losses in this last Basho were to Ichinojo, who we all know is a Makuuchi caliber fighter who, for suspension reasons, is fighting down here, and Oho, who is an extremely struggling Makuuchi fighter, and I think that is a red flag for me personally. Why is Asanoyama losing to Oho? Okay, so he's losing to Makuuchi fighters, not even that great of Makuuchi fighters. Like, I'm not saying the guy's not going to be good. Ryuden really surprised me when he got up and was more impressive than I was thinking. I just want us all to, like, pump the brakes and just be cautious here, because Asanoyama's 30 now, man, and he tried twice to quit and retire during that suspension era, and his coach wouldn't let him. So when we talk about someone's head being in it or not, he tried to quit twice. I love the guy. I really want him to get back to Ozeki. I wanted him to be a Yokozuna before the JSA put an incredibly cruel and incredibly unfair and unjustified punishment on him when you look at how they treated other people like Ichinojo. So again, like, I'm mad. I'm angry. I think that they did this guy wrong. So I really want him to see success, but he has not been. He had to miss an entire year of training, of being at the level he should be. That's not helpful. And then in that year, he got a year older where he wasn't training. And then now that he's been back, he's been struggling, and he tried to quit. He did.
Yeah, I think I definitely had one foot on the Asanoyama train where I was like, yeah, this guy's going straight to the top. But like you said, I've seen a couple of losses where I'm like, ooh, maybe. Or, I mean, he could still possibly get back to Ozeki. Mm-hmm. But depending on how, like, if Sanyaku continues the way it is, he's going to hit a real struggle once he gets up there.
I know.
He just hasn't found anybody at that level for a very long time.
Exactly.
Which, like it shows with Ichinojo, who, won back in, what was it, September?
Yeah.
Who did beat all those guys. He hit somebody at that level and he lost.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. So I'm rooting for him. He definitely, oh my God, does he have the talent? Man, he is so quick out of Itachi. For someone his size, it is insane. The springing power in his legs. Like, it's insane. He's so quick. He immediately gets his grip. His technique stuff, like his brain for sumo, is all still there. He's so good. Some of the physical traits, I think the JSA screwed him, frankly, by, again, making him lose a year of his prime where he wasn't fighting at all, and then he had to come back, and I think he's still working himself into shape, which is kind of like what you're saying.
Yeah, and I think he's not, 28 roughly, maybe 29. He's good. I think he'll get back up there, but it's going to take him a lot. I think it'll take him a little longer than what I was hoping for.
Yeah. He just turned 29.
Okay.
Like on the 1st of March.
Maybe a year, maybe a little longer. Maybe he's back up at that level. We'll see. I mean, he could obviously get back up to Makuuchi and just start steamrolling through these lower guys.
Yeah. I'm rooting for it. I think you're rooting for it. The technique is still there. I really want to see this. But we'll have to see. And I think, I can flash up on screen here just a little bit of what I think the Banzuke is going to look like next time. But I do think really the way it all shook out in the end, I know people were really on the Enho train thinking he was going to come back up, but no, it didn't quite get there. I think that Gonoyama is the one who gets iced out, because I think there's only 2 slots available this time. I think that we're only losing Azumaryu and Bushozan. So I think there's only 2 slots available, and how can you not give those 2 slots to Asanoyama and Ichinojo? But I will say, in my prediction, I have Asanoyama getting promoted all the way up to like M6 and Ichinojo to M7. Mine is surely going to be insanely wrong this time. It's so hard to find the slots to fit people in, and when you look at the Makuuchi guys and where they need to drop to and stuff, sometimes you're like, well, forget it. I guess these guys are going all the way back to the top.
And yeah, it's like they probably won't give them that high, but it's not like they're taking brand new people who've never been in the division and putting them up, so they might end up a little higher than we expect.
That's the thing, and guys have been coming in really high lately. Even like Kinbozan came in really high, so I don't know, whatever.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, agreed. But I'm with you. This Basho was incredibly exciting finish. Could be great for the sport if this is the start of Daieisho and Kiribayama making Ozeki and then consistently staying up there. We could be seeing the division finally sort of recovering from the shell shock of the Hakuho retirement. And next Basho, we should have Terunofuji back. Like, man, the hype train, baby. It should be full steam ahead.
I think May is going to be it. Like, I was super excited. I loved watching March. I think May is going to be even more intense.
I'm with you. I think it's going to be awesome. The only sad part is that we can't go watch it live. For those not in the know, there were tentative thoughts that maybe we could be in Japan in May of 2023, but they did not come to fruition.
Maybe next year.
Next May. Here it goes. All right. But for now, thanks for listening, everybody. Can't wait for the next Basho. Let us know in the comments. Feel free to tear my Banzuke to shreds, or let us know who you thought was really the story of this Basho, and who you think is making this run up to the top of the mountain next, because we've thrown some of our picks out there. But yeah, thanks for listening, everybody. Talk to you again soon.